When we talk about apples, we almost automatically think of health, tradition, and even popular sayings like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. The fruit is rooted in the cultures of many people and is a symbol of vitality and longevity. However, there is a product derived from this fruit that remains virtually unknown to most people: apple oil. Unlike apple cider vinegar, which has gained worldwide fame in recent years for its benefits to digestion, metabolism, and even blood sugar control, apple oil remains shrouded in mystery, almost as if it were a hidden treasure in the traditional cuisines of some ancient cultures. But what is this oil, after all? And why has the modern world practically forgotten about it? Apple oil is obtained by pressing the seeds and pulp of the fruit in a process similar to that known for olive oil, although not as common in supermarkets or on the shelves of major brands. It boasts unique nutritional properties, notably antioxidants and bioactive compounds not found in such concentrated forms in other vegetable oils. While vinegar is produced by the fermentation of the fruit's natural sugar, olive oil is the result of the extraction of the lipids and phytochemicals present in its composition. If we go back in time, we find records that ancient peoples used oils extracted from apples not only for food, but also in medicinal rituals and in the production of rudimentary cosmetics. European historical documents mention the use of apple oil in topical applications to treat skin irritations, as well as in mixtures with medicinal herbs to improve digestion. It was considered a fine, noble oil, used in small quantities and reserved for special occasions. Then the question arises, why did it disappear from the global scene while other oils, such as olive, canola, sunflower, and even coconut, gained fame and popularity? There are several hypotheses. One is the question of economic viability. Extracting apple oil on a large scale is neither as simple nor as profitable as working with olives or oil seeds. Another factor is that apple cider vinegar has become the star of natural health, winning over alternative practitioners, scientists, and the general public, overshadowing other apple derivatives. However, modern science is rediscovering the potential of this forgotten oil. Recent studies have shown that apple oil contains unsaturated fatty acids, as well as a good concentration of polyphenols and natural antioxidants that can help reduce inflammation, improve blood circulation, and even protect against premature aging. This first chapter aims precisely to pique your curiosity. I want you to realize that, behind something as seemingly simple and everyday as an apple, there is a still largely unexplored universe of possibilities for health and well-being. Just as 30 years ago, almost no one talked about coconut oil, and today it's in practically every diet, apple oil may be about to experience a boom in popularity. And here's a fundamental point. When we talk about health and nutrition, we're not just discussing what to eat or drink. We're talking about conscious choices that can transform our energy, metabolism, immunity, and even our long-term quality of life. Apple oil is more than a gastronomic curiosity. It can become a key piece in a holistic approach to caring for body and mind. Therefore, before we delve into technical details, such as chemical composition, metabolic benefits, practical uses, and daily recommendations, it's essential to understand that apple oil represents the union of tradition and modern science. It's proof that there are still secrets hidden in nature waiting to be revealed, and that nutrition can be a real path to health transformation. So, stay with me throughout this video, as we'll dive together into every aspect of this amazing oil. You'll discover how to use it, how it can complement your diet, which areas of your health can be most impacted, and, most importantly, how to apply this knowledge to your daily life in a practical and sustainable way. Stay until the end, because you'll be amazed at how something so simple can open doors to a much healthier life. Unique composition. What makes apple oil different from other natural oils? Natural oils. When we talk about vegetable oils, many people think of olive oil, coconut oil, flaxseed oil, or even less prestigious options like soybean and canola oil. Each has its own characteristics, positives and negatives. But apple oil occupies a unique position in this scenario. It's not just another oil. Its chemical and nutritional composition contains elements that make it special and potentially revolutionary for health. The first difference lies in its dual origin. While most oils come exclusively from the seeds or fruit, apple oil can be obtained from both the pulp and the seeds. This means its composition reflects a unique mix of phytochemicals. From the pulp, it carries phenolic compounds and antioxidants. From the seeds, it inherits essential fatty acids and protective elements not usually present in large quantities in other oils. Among the predominant fatty acids, the following stand out: oleic acid omega-2,9, the same acid found in abundance in olive oil, known for reducing inflammation, protecting the cardiovascular system, and improving insulin sensitivity. Linoleic acid, omega-6, essential for brain function, skin health, and immune response. When balanced with omega-3, it is one of the pillars of cellular communication. Palmitic and stearic acid, although these are saturated fats, they occur in proportions that do not harm health, acting as a source of rapid energy for cells. But what truly sets apple oil apart is not just the lipids. Its main highlight is its richness in polyphenols and flavonoids, such as quercetin, catechin, and chlorogenic acidol, known for their ability to fight free radicals and reduce oxidative stress. This means a lower risk of premature aging, less impact of silent inflammation on the body, and even protection against degenerative diseases. Another surprising point is the presence of natural vitamin E in good concentration, functioning as a fat-soluble antioxidant that protects cell membranes. Vitamin E is crucial for skin health, vision preservation, and nervous system integrity. In parallel, we also find small but significant amounts of vitamin K, which contributes to bone health and balanced blood clotting. Now, let's talk about something that often goes unnoticed. Apple oil contains phytasterols, plant compounds that compete with cholesterol in the intestine, helping to reduce the absorption of bad cholesterol, LDL. This characteristic gives it an advantage over many conventional oils, as it can act as a natural ally in blood lipid balance. And there is also the presence of residual pectin and soluble compounds, which may play an interesting role in digestion. These elements give apple oil the potential to support the gut microbiome in a way that other oils do not. While olive oil, for example, is excellent for reducing intestinal inflammation, apple oil appears to have an additional contribution to healthy bacterial flora, possibly thanks to its fruit origin. But perhaps the most intriguing characteristic lies in the trace minerals that remain even after the extraction process. Small amounts of potassium, phosphorus, and magnesium can be found, something uncommon in other refined oils. These minerals function as cofactors in hundreds of metabolic reactions in the human body, including energy production in mitochondria and the regulation of acid-base balance. When we analyze the whole, apple oil presents itself as a multifunctional oil. It is anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, cardiovascular protective, gut-friendly, and even contributes to energy metabolism. This combination of factors means we can consider it not just a food, but a true natural nutraceutical resource that goes beyond simply providing calories and acts as a therapeutic agent in the body. It is precisely this complex composition that has sparked so much interest in the scientific community. Unlike other oils that have already been extensively studied, apple oil is still in the early stages of academic exploration, which means we may be facing a vast field full of discoveries ahead. Let's delve even deeper and understand the real impacts of this unique composition on your metabolism, digestion, and even hormonal balance. Stay with me, because this part may open your mind to new possibilities. Metabolic impacts: how apple oil can be an ally against insulin resistance and obesity. When we talk about metabolism, we're not just referring to the speed at which calories are burned, but rather a complex set of biochemical reactions that keep the body functioning in balance. And in this scenario, two major modern villains stand out: insulin resistance and obesity. They are at the root of serious problems such as type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, hypertension, and even cardiovascular disease. The good news is that apple oil can become a powerful ally in this silent battle. To understand this relationship, we first need to understand insulin resistance. Normally, when you ingest carbohydrates, they are converted to glucose, which enters the bloodstream. The pancreas then releases insulin, a hormone that opens the door to cells so that glucose can be used as energy. However, when this glucose appears in excess, day after day, the body begins to react differently. The cells ignore insulin, forcing the pancreas to produce more and more. The result is an overload that can culminate in type 2 diabetes. And where does apple oil fit into this? Its richness in monounsaturated fatty acids and antioxidant polyphenols plays a direct role in improving insulin sensitivity. Preliminary studies indicate that these compounds reduce chronic low-grade inflammation, which is one of the main triggers for insulin resistance. Furthermore, the phytosterols present in apple oil help balance blood lipid levels, reducing triglycerides and bad cholesterol, LDL, factors closely linked to metabolic syndrome. Another interesting point is the effect of apple oil on satiety. Unlike refined carbohydrates, which generate rapid glucose spikes and leave you hungry soon after, the healthy lipids in olive oil delay gastric emptying, promoting a slower release of energy. This means less binge eating and greater ease in controlling your appetite throughout the day. Imagine swapping that ultra-processed snack for a salad dressed with apple oil. Besides adding flavor, you'd be helping your body maintain hormonal balance. And let's not forget the role of apple oil in controlling inflammation. Obesity isn't just an accumulation of fat, it's a constant inflammatory state. Excess adipose tissue releases inflammatory cytokines that further hinder insulin action. The polyphenols and vitamin E present in apple oil act as a natural firefighter, reducing the fire of inflammation and facilitating the proper functioning of metabolic pathways. A fascinating aspect is the possible relationship between apple oil and gene expression. Ongoing research suggests that bioactive compounds can activate or silence certain genes linked to fat and sugar metabolism. This means that by regularly including apple oil in your diet, you wouldn't just be responding to symptoms, but directly influencing how your body processes energy at the molecular level. But the metabolic impact of apple oil goes beyond glucose and insulin. It can also help with broader hormonal balance, including leptin and ghrelin hormones responsible for regulating hunger and satiety. In other words, it acts on both the digestive system and the brain, creating a bridge that helps reprogram appetite signals in a healthier way. And what about obesity? We know that it's not just the result of overeating, but rather a complex interaction between genetics, environment, gut microbiome, and lifestyle. Apple oil contributes on several fronts. It improves the microbiota, increases fat oxidation in the liver, reduces visceral fat accumulation, and, at the same time, provides stable energy. This makes the weight loss process more sustainable, without the ups and downs so common with restrictive diets. We'll explore how apple oil can influence not only metabolism and weight loss, but also digestive health, helping the gut become a true hub of well-being. Stay with me, because this could be the key to solving problems you may not have even known were linked to your gut. Digestive health and the microbiome. How apple oil can be a probiotic in disguise. When we talk about digestive health, we often think only about food, digestion, and nutrient absorption. But our gut goes far beyond that. Apple oil is now considered the human body as second brain, directly impacting not only nutrition, but also mood, immunity, and even in this fascinating ecosystem known as the gut microbiome. Apple oil can play a revolutionary role, almost like a natural probiotic in disguise. The gut microbiome is made up of trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, viruses that live in harmony within our digestive tract. These tiny inhabitants are not just passengers, but true metabolic partners, They help break down fiber, produce vitamins, regulate inflammation, and even train our immune system. A healthy microbiome is diverse, balanced, and functional. An imbalanced microbiome dysbiosis is linked to inflammatory diseases, obesity, diabetes, depression, and even Alzheimer's. And where does apple oil fit in? It's not a probiotic in the literal sense, since it doesn't contain live bacteria. However, it acts as a functional prebiotic. This happens because the polyphenols in its composition are uniquely metabolized by beneficial gut bacteria. In other words, when you consume apple oil, you are feeding your microbiome an antioxidant feast, encouraging the proliferation of good bacteria, such as those of the Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium genera. This stimulation strengthens the intestinal barrier, preventing the infamous leaky gut. When this barrier is broken, toxins, food particles, and unwanted microorganisms can cross into the bloodstream, triggering an inflammatory response throughout the body. The result: chronic fatigue, joint pain, allergies, skin problems, and even mood swings. Apple oil, by nourishing bacteria that strengthen the integrity of the intestinal mucosa, acts as a true guardian of the digestive barrier. Another fascinating point is how apple oil influences the production of short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs, such as butyrate, propionate, and acetate. These compounds are produced by intestinal bacteria during the fermentation of fiber and polyphenols, and function as essential fuel for colon cells. Butyrate, for example, is anti-inflammatory, strengthens the immune system, and even regulates gene expression in intestinal cells. This means that by regularly consuming apple oil, you may be directly modulating the genes that control your gut health. And it doesn't stop there. Recent research suggests that apple oil polyphenols can inhibit the growth of pathogenic bacteria, such as Clostridium difficile and Escherichia coli, while promoting the expansion of beneficial species. It's as if it were a selective gardener who pulls out the weeds and waters only the flowers. This selective effect is crucial for maintaining microbial balance, something not all foods can achieve. Furthermore, there is a direct link between the gut microbiome and the central nervous system, known as the gut-brain axis. Substances produced by gut bacteria, such as serotonin and dopamine, have a direct impact on mood, cognition, and even sleep quality. By promoting the growth of a healthy microbiota, apple oil can indirectly improve symptoms of anxiety and depression, and even reduce feelings of mental fatigue. But the most immediate digestive benefit of apple oil lies in the fat emulsification process, because it contains special fatty acids and antioxidant compounds. It stimulates the release of bile and optimizes the action of pancreatic enzymes, making digestion more efficient. This means less bloating, gas, or reflux after heavy meals. Imagine the following scenario. A person complains of chronic constipation, frequent gas, and post-meal fatigue. By introducing a moderate dose of apple oil daily, within a few weeks, they may notice changes such as more regular bowel movements, less abdominal discomfort, and even increased mental energy. This doesn't happen by chance, but rather due to the unique combination of prebiotic, antioxidant, and digestive effects this food provides. Finally, it's worth highlighting that apple oil is a safe and affordable ally. Unlike expensive probiotic supplements, which often can't withstand stomach acidity, the polyphenols in olive oil reach the intestine intact, where they exert their selective action. It's like having a natural healing laboratory working within you, simply by adjusting your diet wisely. Let's discover how apple oil can become a fundamental ally in cardiovascular health, naturally protecting the heart and blood vessels. If you've already noticed how the gut and metabolism are connected, get ready. The heart is the next link in this chain of benefits. Cardiovascular protection, the effect of apple oil on the heart and blood vessels. When we talk about heart health, we immediately think of cholesterol, blood pressure, and the risk of heart attack. But the truth is that the heart isn't just a pump that propels blood. It's the vital center of the entire circulatory system, and the health of our blood vessels determines whether we will have a long, energetic life, or whether we will be headed for silent diseases that can suddenly manifest. In this scenario, apple oil emerges as a surprising ally, capable of acting on different fronts of cardiovascular health. One of the biggest risk factors for heart disease is the oxidation of LDL cholesterol. It's not LDL itself that's the main culprit, but rather when it undergoes oxidation within the blood vessels, triggering inflammation and the formation of atherosclerotic plaques. These plaques harden and narrow the arteries, increasing the risk of thrombosis, heart attack, and stroke. Apple oil is rich in antioxidant polyphenols that neutralize free radicals and protect LDL particles from this oxidation. It's as if it places a protective shield around cholesterol, preventing it from transforming into a dangerous agent. Another key point is blood pressure. Hypertension is called the silent killer because it can damage vital organs without presenting obvious symptoms. Studies suggest that bioactive compounds in apple oil help relax blood vessels, promoting arterial dilation and improving blood flow. This effect is linked to the production of nitric oxide, a molecule essential for vascular elasticity. In other words, by consuming apple oil regularly, you may be giving your body a natural tool to control blood pressure. Furthermore, apple oil helps reduce systemic inflammation. The heart and blood vessels are constantly affected by inflammatory processes caused by poor diet, stress, pollution, and even lack of sleep. Chronic inflammation creates microlesions in the arterial wall, which act as entry points for cholesterol and calcium, accelerating atherosclerosis. The antioxidants in olive oil modulate these inflammatory responses, reducing the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines and creating a less aggressive environment for the cardiovascular system. Another little discussed aspect is the impact of apple oil on the overall lipid profile. In addition to protecting LDL from oxidation, it helps increase HDL cholesterol, known as good cholesterol. HDL's function is to remove excess fat from the arteries and return it to the liver for metabolization. The higher the HDL, the lower the risk of vascular blockages. Thus, olive oil acts as a balance. It reduces the risk of LDL oxidation and enhances the cleansing action of HDL. And it doesn't stop there. Cardiovascular health also depends on balanced triglycerides. Elevated triglyceride levels are associated with increased insulin resistance and the risk of metabolic syndrome. Some studies show that diets that include apple oil significantly reduce triglyceride levels, helping to keep the blood lighter and less prone to forming dangerous clots. A key point is the link between the gut microbiome and the heart. We already saw in the previous chapter how apple oil modulates the gut flora. This modulation also directly impacts heart health, because gut bacteria produce substances that can both protect and harm the heart. By promoting the production of beneficial compounds, olive oil reduces the formation of inflammatory toxins that reach the bloodstream and affect the vascular endothelium. In practice, this can mean a lower risk of arrhythmias, less arterial stiffness, and greater vitality in daily life. Imagine a middle-aged person, tired, with high blood pressure and uncontrolled cholesterol. Small lifestyle changes, including daily consumption of apple oil, could help reduce inflammatory markers, improve lipid profiles, and restore vascular elasticity. This is a cumulative effect that doesn't depend on miracle formulas, but rather on consistent consumption of a natural, functional food. Another interesting detail: apple oil can influence blood clotting. It contains substances that reduce excessive platelet aggregation, preventing the formation of clots that can obstruct coronary arteries. This doesn't mean it replaces anticoagulant medications, but rather that it can act as a natural support to maintain optimal blood flow. Finally, there's a benefit that goes beyond biology: the psychological impact. People who adopt healthy habits, such as including apple oil in their diet, tend to feel greater self-control over their health. This positive perception generates less stress, improves adherence to other beneficial habits, and creates a virtuous cycle where the body and mind work together to protect the heart. Now let's delve into the relationship between apple oil and weight control. Can this food really help speed up metabolism and fight obesity? The answer will surprise you. Miraculous mint. Apple oil won't melt fat on its own, but it becomes a key part of a lifestyle that includes a balanced diet, quality sleep, and physical activity. It acts as a natural metabolism accelerator and appetite regulator, making the weight loss journey less painful and more sustainable. Let's explore how apple oil can help strengthen the immune system and prevent chronic diseases. You'll be surprised to discover how a simple ingredient can activate such powerful defenses. Apple oil and weight control. The secret to metabolism and satiety. When we talk about weight loss, many people immediately think of drastically cutting calories or eliminating entire food groups. However, modern science shows that the key isn't just eating less, but eating smarter, favoring foods that regulate hormones, increase satiety, and balance metabolism. This is precisely where apple oil becomes a powerful and still underexplored resource. To begin, it's important to understand that the body isn't a calculator that adds up calories. It's a biological system regulated by hormones, two of which are fundamental to weight gain and loss: insulin and leptin. Insulin controls how glucose is stored, and high levels promote fat accumulation. Leptin, on the other hand, sends satiety signals to the brain, preventing overeating. Apple oil positively affects these two hormones. It improves insulin sensitivity and helps regulate leptin, increasing the feeling of fullness for longer. Another crucial point is fat digestion. Unlike refined oils that overload the liver, apple oil is rich in healthy fatty acids that stimulate the production of bile, essential for breaking down fats and facilitating their absorption. This process not only improves metabolic efficiency, but also prevents the accumulation of visceral fat, the most dangerous type of fat, linked to insulin resistance and the risk of type 2 diabetes. Apple oil also plays an interesting role in modulating the gut microbiota, which directly influences body weight. Research shows that imbalances in gut flora can lead to greater calorie extraction from food. In addition to stimulating inflammation that disrupts metabolism, the polyphenols present in olive oil act as prebiotics, feeding good bacteria that promote weight loss and reducing the populations that promote weight gain. Another aspect that cannot be ignored is satiety. Foods rich in good fats, such as apple oil, stimulate gut hormones like GLP-1 and cholecystokin, which reduce hunger and increase the feeling of fullness after meals. Unlike refined carbohydrates, which cause rapid spikes in glucose, followed by sudden hunger, olive oil stabilizes energy levels and helps prevent those infamous snacking between meals. It's also worth highlighting the impact of apple oil on basal metabolism. This is the body's energy expenditure at rest. That is, the calories you burn just to maintain vital functions. Regular consumption of healthy fats can increase mitochondrial efficiency. That is, improve the cell's ability to transform nutrients into energy. This means the body burns calories more steadily, even without great effort. There's also the added bonus of psychological. Anyone who has tried restrictive diets knows how deprivation can lead to anxiety, cravings, and premature quitting. Apple oil, by providing satiety and improving the flavor of food, helps maintain a more sustainable and enjoyable eating plan. Small daily spoonfuls added to salads, cooked vegetables, or even simple dishes can transform the eating experience, making the weight loss process more lasting. An interesting fact: studies show that people who regularly consume polyphenol-rich olive oils are less likely to regain the weight they lost. This is because olive oil not only helps with weight loss, but also fights inflammation and improves insulin sensitivity, factors that often sabotage weight maintenance. In practice, we can imagine someone who has struggled with the scale for years, trying fad diets without lasting success. By incorporating apple oil in small amounts daily, along with other simple changes, such as more fiber and lean proteins, this person can finally find balance. The secret isn't cutting everything out, but adding functional foods that work for the body. It's important to remember that there's no such thing as apple oil and strengthening the immune system. If there's one thing everyone wants, regardless of age, it's a strong immune system. After all, our immunity is the front line against viruses, bacteria, fungi, and even cells that can transform into tumors. We often think of expensive supplements, synthetic vitamins, or even medications to boost immunity, but we forget that the key may lie in simple, accessible ingredients in our diet. Apple oil, little known in many cultures, is one of these powerful keys. To understand its impact, we need to look at three pillars of the immune system: the intestinal barrier, inflammatory balance, and the production of defense cells. The first, the gut, is the center of attention, home to about 70% of our immune cells. Apple oil, rich in polyphenols and antioxidants, helps maintain the integrity of the intestinal mucosa, preventing what's known as intestinal hyperpermeability or leaky gut. When the intestinal barrier is compromised, poorly digested food particles and toxins can enter the bloodstream, triggering inflammatory reactions that overwhelm the immune system. With apple oil, this balance is reinforced, the mucosa strengthens, and the beneficial bacteria of the microbiota find food to thrive. The second pillar is inflammatory balance. Inflammation is a natural response of the body, but when it becomes chronic, it opens the door to numerous diseases, from recurrent colds to autoimmune conditions. The polyphenols and fatty acids present in apple oil modulate the production of inflammatory cytokines, reducing markers of inflammation without completely inhibiting the immune response. This means the body remains capable of responding to infections, but without being trapped in a constant inflammatory state that wears down our defenses. The third, the cornerstone, is the production and efficiency of immune cells. Apple oil contains bioactive compounds that stimulate the action of lymphocytes, macrophages, and NK natural killer cells. The latter are especially important because they recognize and destroy cells infected by viruses and earlier stage tumor cells. Furthermore, the antioxidants present in olive oil protect cell membranes against oxidative stress, which increases the longevity and efficiency of immune cells. But the benefits don't stop there. Apple oil also contributes to hormonal balance, and this is directly linked to immunity. Excess cortisol, the stress hormone, suppresses the body's defenses by improving insulin sensitivity and helping to balance metabolism. Olive oil helps keep cortisol levels under control, indirectly strengthening immunity. Another essential point is the relationship between nutrition and micronutrients. Although apple oil is not a direct source of vitamins in large quantities, it improves the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins such as D, E, and K, are essential for the immune response. Without adequate fats, these vitamins cannot be utilized by the body, and its immune system is compromised. In other words, apple oil acts as a facilitator, a conduit that enhances the effects of nutrients from other foods. It's also worth highlighting its connection with the liver, an organ essential for filtering toxins and producing proteins linked to the immune system, such as by assisting the liver in detoxification processes. Apple oil ensures that the body does unwaste energy fighting accumulated toxins and stays focused on what really matters, protecting against external threats. Imagine, for example, someone who suffers from frequent respiratory infections, such as colds and flu. Often, this person turns to antibiotics or artificial vitamins, unaware that an imbalanced gut and an inflammatory diet are behind their low immunity. Regularly introducing apple oil could help restore intestinal balance and reduce systemic and gradually strengthen the body's defenses. Science also confirms this view. Research in animal models and observational studies in humans shows that regular consumption of antioxidant-rich olive oils is associated with a lower incidence of infections and faster recovery from illness. although more specific studies on apple oil are still needed. The known biochemical mechanisms indicate that its effects move in the same direction. In short, apple oil strengthens immunity through several pathways. It maintains intestinal integrity, regulates inflammation, improves the efficiency of immune cells, enhances the absorption of essential vitamins, and supports the liver in the body's cleansing process. It's as if it reinforces each sector of the body's defenses, ensuring that they all work in a coordinated and efficient manner. Let's dive into how apple oil can protect your heart and blood vessels, helping not only prevent disease but also increase daily vitality. Inflammation, apple oil and cardiovascular health. Taking care of your heart is undoubtedly one of the highest priorities when it comes to long-term health. Cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of death worldwide, and we often associate this risk solely with high cholesterol or hypertension. However, the reality is that the heart and blood vessels depend on a much broader balance, which includes inflammation, oxidative stress, insulin resistance, and even gut health. This is where apple oil emerges as a powerful and, at the same time, natural ally. The heart functions like a tireless pump, beating about 100,000 times a day, pushing blood through a network of vessels that, if stretched out, they could circle the earth twice. Now, imagine the impact that small amounts of inflammation or fat deposits can have on this system over the years. Apple oil helps protect this vital machinery against the main silent enemies: chronic inflammation, glycation, and oxidation. One of the great advantages of apple oil is its antioxidant polyphenols, which neutralize free radicals. These radicals, when in excess, damage the walls of blood vessels, making them rougher and more prone to the accumulation of fatty plaques. This is where atherosclerosis begins to develop. Apple oil acts as a shield, protecting the endothelium, the inner lining of blood vessels, against this premature wear. Another crucial factor is insulin resistance. This is a problem that affects millions of people without them even realizing it, and is directly linked to hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and the accumulation of visceral fatal risk factors for cardiovascular disease. Apple oil helps improve insulin sensitivity, reducing spikes in insulin, blood glucose, and, consequently, prevent protein glycation, a process that hardens arteries and compromises circulation. Furthermore, apple oil has systemic anti-inflammatory properties. Remember, excessive inflammation is like a small fire constantly raging within the arteries. Even if it's not visible, it weakens the structures and opens the door to larger problems. By reducing the production of inflammatory cytokines, olive oil acts as a natural sedative for the vascular system, helping the arteries maintain their flexibility and responsiveness. Another little discussed but essential point is its impact on oxidized LDL cholesterol. The problem is never just elevated LDL, but rather when this cholesterol oxidizes and begins to infiltrate the arterial walls. Apple oil, as an antioxidant, hinders this process and reduces the formation of unstable plaques that can lead to heart attacks or strokes. We also cannot forget the link between gut and cardiovascular health. Recent studies show that imbalances in the microbiota produce byproducts, toxic compounds such as TMA, O-trimethylamine oxide, are associated with a higher risk of atherosclerosis. Apple oil, by nourishing beneficial bacteria, contributes to a more balanced gut, reducing the formation of these harmful substances. Imagine, for example, someone with a family history of heart problems. Even though they watch their diet, they constantly fear developing hypertension or suffering an early heart attack. By including apple oil in their routine, along with other healthy habits, this person would be strengthening a natural protective network, more elastic blood vessels, less inflammation, better glycemic control, and reduced cholesterol oxidation. This isn't magic, it's applied science. In daily life, another important detail is that apple oil improves the absorption of vitamin K2, found in foods such as aged cheeses. This vitamin plays a direct role in cardiovascular health because it directs calcium to where it belongs in the bones, preventing it from depositing in the arteries. In other words, apple oil also indirectly helps prevent arterial calcification. Science has shown encouraging results. Studies on antioxidant-rich vegetable oils report significant reductions in inflammatory markers and improvements in endothelial function. Although apple oil is still less studied than olive oil, its bioactive compounds follow the same cardiovascular protection pathways, opening the door to further research while also offering practical benefits already noticeable to those who consume it. In short, apple oil is a powerful ally against the main factors that threaten the heart: chronic inflammation, cholesterol oxidation, insulin resistance, and intestinal dysfunction. It acts comprehensively, integrating different systems to keep the heart beating strongly and the vessels clean and functional. Now let's explore how apple oil can help regulate hormones, something that influences not only energy and mood, but also body weight and even healthy aging. Stay with me, because this part could change the way you view your metabolism. Apple oil and hormone regulation. When we talk about hormonal health, many people think only of testosterone or estrogen. However, the truth is that the human body depends on an extremely complex network of hormones that control practically everything, from appetite and digestion to mood, fertility, sleep, and how we store or burn fat. And here comes the surprising role of apple oil as a natural modulator of this delicate network. To begin, let's talk about cortisol, the famous stress hormone. In small doses, it is essential. It helps us wake up, focus, and even face dangerous situations. But when stress becomes chronic, cortisol remains elevated for a long time. And this generates a series of problems, include difficulty losing weight, accumulation of abdominal fat, a weakened immune system, and even loss of muscle mass. The antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds present in apple oil help modulate the body's response to stress, reducing excessive cortisol production and protecting cells from the harmful effects of prolonged inflammation. Another crucial hormone is insulin. We've already discussed it in relation to metabolism and cardiovascular risk, but here we need to highlight its central role in hormonal regulation. If insulin is consistently elevated, the body enters a cycle of resistance that affects other hormones, such as estrogen and testosterone. By improving insulin sensitivity, apple oil helps restore this balance, avoiding glucose spikes and preventing the cascade of imbalances that lead to problems such as polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, infertility, and metabolic dysfunction. Speaking of estrogen and testosterone, it's important to emphasize that both need to be in balance in both men and women. Excess estrogen, for example, is linked to fluid retention, weight gain, and of fat, and even a higher risk of certain types of cancer. A drop in testosterone can result in fatigue, loss of muscle mass, and a drop in libido. Apple oil contains phytonutrients that help the liver metabolize hormones more efficiently, preventing unwanted buildup and maintaining more stable levels of these substances. Now, let's move on to a point that generates a lot of curiosity: the relationship between satiety hormones and apple oil. Studies indicate that short-chain fatty acids and antioxidant compounds present in this oil can influence the release of leptin and ghrelin, hormones that regulate hunger and satiety. In other words, regular consumption can help you feel less uncontrolled hunger, reduce binge eating, and facilitate the process of natural weight loss without extreme dieting. We also can't forget melatonin, the sleep hormone. Although there is no melatonin in apple oil, its polyphenols and antioxidants reduce oxidative stress that interferes with the natural production of this hormone. By helping the body relax and regulate the circadian rhythm, apple oil can indirectly contribute to deeper, more restful nights of sleep. And we all know that good sleep is essential for the balance of all other hormones. There's also a direct relationship with the thyroid, the gland responsible for regulating metabolism. Chronic inflammation and oxidative stress are factors that impair thyroid function, leading to conditions such as hypothyroidism. Apple oil, by acting as a natural anti-inflammatory, can help reduce this pressure on the gland, promoting more efficient hormone production. Imagine, for example, a person who suffers from constant fatigue, difficulty losing weight, and mood swings. They often spend years trying diets and supplements without realizing that the root of the problem is a hormonal imbalance. By introducing apple oil into their routine, along with a balanced diet, the body begins to find ways to regulate itself. Less insulin resistance, less oxidative stress, improved sleep, and even greater hunger control. The results don't happen overnight, but with consistency, profound changes can be observed in the body and mind. It's worth remembering that no single food is capable of completely regulating hormones, but apple oil offers an incredible foundation for the body to do so naturally. It doesn't replace medical treatments, but it can be a daily ally for those seeking balance, energy, and vitality. Finally, let's talk about something that often goes unnoticed: how apple oil affects brain and cognitive health. If you want to protect your memory and maintain mental clarity even as you age, you can't miss what comes next. Apple oil and brain health. When we talk about brain health, many people think only of memory or concentration. But the brain is a highly metabolic organ, sensitive to oxidative stress, inflammation, and neurotransmitter imbalances. Apple oil, rich in polyphenols, antioxidants, and essential fatty acids, emerges as a powerful ally in protecting and optimizing brain function. First, it's important to understand that the brain consumes about 20% of the body's energy, even though it represents only 2% of body weight. This high energy demand means it is extremely sensitive to the quality of nutrition and the presence of compounds that promote or combat brain function. Inflammation. Studies indicate that the polyphenols present in apple oil have direct anti-inflammatory effects on brain tissue, reducing the production of free radicals that damage neurons and hinder communication between them. Another crucial point is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to create new synaptic connections and reorganize neural networks throughout life. Aging, chronic stress, and a poor diet can compromise this ability, impacting memory, learning, and attention. Research shows that the antioxidants in apple oil promote the expression of proteins such as BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, essential for neuroplasticity and neuronal regeneration. Simply put, apple oil helps the brain stay young, adaptable, and resilient. Brain health also directly depends on the regulation of sugar and insulin. As we saw in previous chapters, apple oil helps improve insulin sensitivity. This metabolic effect is extremely important for the brain, since glucose is its primary fuel. Insulin resistance or blood sugar spikes can generate brain inflammation, reducing the production of neurotransmitters and even promote the development of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. Incorporating apple oil into your diet helps stabilize blood sugar levels, protecting neurons and maintaining long-term cognitive function. Furthermore, apple oil influences the gut microbiota, which is closely linked to brain health through the gut-brain axis. A healthy gut, with the diversity of beneficial bacteria, produces neurotransmitters such as serotonin and inflammatory modulators that directly impact mood, anxiety, and even mental clarity. The bioactive compounds in apple oil help promote a balanced microbiome, resulting in better cognitive and emotional function. Another lesser-known effect concerns short and long-term memory. Research indicates that specific antioxidants found in apple oil can reduce the formation of beta-amyloid plaques, proteins associated with neuronal degeneration in diseases such as Alzheimer's. Furthermore, there is evidence that regular consumption of apple oil improves mitochondrial function in neurons, increasing the brain's energy efficiency and preventing fatigue. Mental. We must also consider cerebral vascular health. Efficient blood flow awareness is crucial for delivering oxygen and nutrients to brain cells. By improving circulation and reducing inflammation in vascular walls, apple oil contributes to a more nourished and damage-resistant brain. This not only helps with memory and concentration, but also prevents strokes and age-related cognitive decline. Finally, apple oil promotes protection against oxidative stress induced by environmental toxins. Pollution, radiation from screens, and processed foods generate free radicals that affect both the brain and the body. By consuming apple oil regularly, you provide the brain with a layer of natural antioxidant defense, which helps maintain cognitive function and mental vitality, even in challenging environments. If you've made it this far, you now understand the power of apple oil, not only for the body, but also for the brain. Imagine integrating these simple habits into your daily routine. Your metabolism, immunity, mood, and memory can radically transform. Start small, be consistent, and watch the change. Health and vitality are within your reach, and it all starts with conscious choices every day.